People often ask me, Dick, you are a physicist. You look at the world through these equations and these strange rules of quantum mechanics. Does it make the world feel empty? Does it make life feel mechanical? And usually they eventually get around to the big question, the one everyone is afraid to ask. But everyone thinks about in the middle of the night, they ask, what happens when it ends? What happens when I die? Now, if you ask a religious man, he has a book. If you ask a biologist, he talks about decomposition. But if you ask a physicist, if you ask me, I have to tell you something that might sound very strange at first. It might sound crazy, but nature is strange. Nature is crazy, and the truth is the question itself is wrong. You see, you are under a terrible misapprehension. You have this idea, this intuitive feeling that you are a thing. You think you are a noun. You think you are a static object like a chair or a stone that exists in the world. And because you think you are a thing, you are terrified that the thing will be broken, destroyed, or lost. But you are not a thing. You are not a noun. You are a verb. You are a process. You are an event. And when you understand what that actually means, when you really look at the atoms jiggling and wiggling inside of you right now, the fear of death changes. It doesn't disappear maybe, but it changes into something else. It changes into a kind of awe. It changes into a recognition of what you really are in this universe. You see, most people think they are the matter they are made of. But that is physically impossible. You are not the stuff. You are the pattern. It is a very confusing thing, isn't it? To be a pattern, but not the stuff. But we see it all the time. Think of a wave in the ocean. You see the wave coming toward the shore. It has a shape. It has a height. It has a crash. You say there is a wave. But the water in the wave is not moving with the wave. The water is just moving up and down. The water that makes up the wave now is different from the water that made up the wave a minute ago. The stuff changes. The pattern remains. You are exactly like that wave. And today I want to talk about that wave. I want to talk about where the atoms come from, why they stick together in this marvelous, complicated shape called you, and what happens when the sticking stops. I want to take apart the machinery of existence and show you that while the pattern might fade, the pieces, the reality of what you are indestructible. It is a journey from the very small, the jiggling atoms, to the very big, the flow of time itself. It is going to require us to throw away some common sense, because common sense is usually wrong when it comes to the deep laws of nature. This is not just physics. This is how reality works. If you want to join us in decoding the universe and you want to see the world as it truly is, hit that subscribe button. Let's find things out together. So let's start with the basics. Let's start with the building blocks. If you stand by the sea and you look at the waves crashing, you might feel poetic. But if you look closely, if you look with the eye of a scientist, what do you see? You see water molecules, countless, billions upon billions of them. And what are they doing? They are jiggling, they are moving, they are bumping into each other. Everything is made of atoms. That is the most important hypothesis in all of biology, in all of physics. Everything is made of atoms, little particles that move around in perpetual motion, attracting each other when they are a little distance apart, but repelling upon being squeezed into one another. Now look at yourself. Look at your hand. It looks solid, doesn't it? It looks stable. It looks like it has been there for years. But if we could zoom in, if we could magnify that hand 1 billion times, what would we see? We would see a chaotic storm. We would see atoms of carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, all vibrating, all jiggling. Here is the shocking part. The atoms that are in your hand right now are not the same atoms that were there a few years ago. It is a physiological fact that the atoms in your body are being replaced all the time. You eat, you breathe, you drink, you take in new atoms. You exhale, you sweat, you use the bathroom, you push out old atoms. The turnover is constant. The carbon in your brain, the phosphorus in your bones, the oxygen in your blood, it is all flowing through you like water through a sea. So I have to ask you, if the atoms are different, are you the same person you were 10 years ago? Physically, absolutely not. You are a completely new batch of material. You are a new pile of stuff. Yet you remember the childhood home. You remember the first time you rode a bicycle. You have the same personality, the same laugh, the same fears. How is that possible? How can the memory remain when the hard drive has been replaced? It is because, as I said, you are the pattern, you are a dance. If you go to a dance hall and you see a square dance, the people change partners, they move around, some leave. New people come in. But the dance continues. The structure of the dance, the rules of the movement, that is what persists. You are a very specific, incredibly complex, self-sustaining dance of atoms. Now, this brings us to the question of death. What is death in this picture? Death is not the destruction of the atoms. We know from the conservation of energy and the conservation of matter that you cannot destroy an atom. You can smash it, maybe change its form, turn it into energy, but the stuff of the universe is constant. The amount of energy in the universe today is exactly the same as it was at the beginning. So when you die, you do not vanish. The carbon does not pop out of existence. The energy that powers your heart does not dissolve into nothingness. Death is simply when the dance stops. It is when the pattern dissolves. Why does it dissolve? Why can't the pattern go on forever? Why can't we just keep replacing the atoms and stay alive for 1,000,000 years? This is where we have to talk about the great enemy of order. We have to talk about entropy. Now, people use this word entropy loosely like a poetic term for chaos. But in physics, it is very precise. It is a measure of the number of ways you can arrange a system. Think of a deck of cards. If you buy a brand new deck, it is in perfect order. Ace to king of spades, ace to king of hearts, and so on. There is only one way to have the deck in that perfect order, just one. Now throw the cards in the air, let them fall on the floor, or just shuffle them. What happens? They get mixed up. They become disordered. Why? Is there a law of nature that says thou shalt be messy? Number, there is no force pushing the cards into disorder. It is simply a matter of probability. It is a matter of counting. There is only one arrangement that is perfect order. There are billions and billions of arrangements that are mixed up. So when you shuffle, you are simply moving from a state of low probability order to a state of high probability disorder. If you keep shuffling, will the cards ever accidentally go back to the perfect factory order? Theoretically, yes. It is not impossible. It is just incredibly, incredibly unlikely. You could shuffle for the entire age of the universe, and you would never see that perfect order again, not because it is forbidden, but because the odds are overwhelmingly against it. Life, your life, my life, the life of a tree or a bug is a temporary victory against this shuffle. You are a highly ordered arrangement to keep your heart beating, to keep your neurons firing. To keep your body temperature at 986 degrees requires a tremendous amount of effort. You are constantly fighting the probability. You are constantly pushing against the natural tendency of things to jiggle apart. You eat food. What is food? It is concentrated energy. It is low entropy. You take that order, you use it to repair your cells, to build your proteins, to keep the pattern holding tight, and then you expel heat. You expel waste. You create disorder in the environment to maintain order inside yourself. But eventually the machinery wears out. The copying errors in your DNA accumulate. The thermodynamic bill comes due. The shuffle takes over. When you die, the energy that was holding the pattern together is released. The atoms are released. They stop following the strict instructions of your DNA, and they return to the wild, chaotic jiggling of the inanimate universe. It is like the wave crashing on the shore. The water spreads out. The foam dissipates. The shape is gone. But the water is still there. Now, this might sound depressing to some of you. Oh, so I am just a temporary shuffle of cards, and when I die, I just get mixed back into the deck. Well, yes. But wait, there is more to it than that. We have to talk about time, because our intuition about time is just as wrong as our intuition about matter. We have this feeling that time is a flow. We think the past is gone, vanished. We think the future hasn't happened yet. We think the only thing that is real is now. And we think now is moving forward like a spotlight moving across a dark stage. But when we look at the equations of physics, when we look at Einstein's relativity, which has been tested and proven over and over again, we don't see a moving spotlight. We see something that looks more like a block. We call it spacetime. Imagine a loaf of sausage, a big long salami. You can slice it into thin pieces. Each slice represents a moment in time. Now, but the whole sausage exists at once. The beginning of the sausage and the end of the sausage are part of the same object. In physics, we suspect that the past, the present, and the future all exist simultaneously. They are all laid out in a four-dimensional map. This is a very difficult thing to visualize, but think of it this way. If you are on a train and you look out the window, you see a cow. Then the train moves and you see a tree. Then the train moves and you see a bridge. Does the cow cease to exist because you can't see it anymore? Remember, the cow is back there down the track. You just passed it. Does the bridge not exist until you see it? Remember, the bridge is up there waiting. We are observers moving through the landscape of time. We experience it sequentially, moment by moment, because that is how our brains are wired. But the moments themselves, the events of your life, are fixed locations in spacetime. What does this mean for death?